It's Aloha Monday, gonna run to Saturday. Woo! Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And it's Breakfast with Bob. Chee-hoo.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome back, everybody. This is Breakfast with Bob, St. George edition. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by Master Spa, Zion's Bank, Quintana Room, Form Smart Swim Goggles, Clash Endurance, Premium Plus Sports, and, of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, Kelly Fillnow, joins us. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm great. How are you?
I am wonderful. We just got to meet your twin sister, Megan.
Yes.
I am guessing that growing up that you guys were a little competitive.
We were extremely competitive in everything, from every single sport to Monopoly. I think every time we were on the tennis court, I could not get off the court until I won the last point. So I think it really frustrated her. But, yeah, we carry that competitiveness with us.
But you are a pro, and she stayed age group.
She did. She should be pro, but she's not.
She doesn't want to go up against her sister.
Yeah, I think that's what.
I love it. But really, gymnastics, soccer, softball, you trained at the Vandermeer Tennis Academy in Hilton Head. With Megan, so tennis was it.
Tennis was, yeah. Once we got to high school, we grew up doing every single sport, and except for swimming and running and biking. But then once we were freshmen in high school, we decided to just focus on tennis. So we trained. We moved from Pittsburgh to Hilton Head, and then trained pretty much 3 to 4 hours a day.
The idea is to go pro.
We actually I never had a goal to go pro.
Really?
I just
liked it.
I just wanted to get a full ride to college because my parents just invested so much in us, in all of our sports growing up. So that was actually always my goal. And then as soon as our last tennis match, I was done with tennis. Like, I barely picked up my racket. Not that I was burnt out, but my goal was always to be a Division I college full ride. And
you did.
I did, yes.
Well, you didn't just do it. Scholarship, Davidson, #1 singles and doubles, 4 years. You joined the cross-country team, 10-time all-conference honoree in tennis and cross-country, graduated cum laude. You underachievers just really upset me. I can't believe you just don't get enough in the day. And, it inducted into the Davidson College Hall of Fame. Oh, yeah. Then you ran at Duke. And you finished third in your first triathlon. Qualified for Kona.
I didn't know how to swim, though, but we actually had a swim test at Davidson you had to pass. Like, back when I went there, you had to get across the pool 50 meters. Yeah. And I was so nervous because I didn't think I would make it, but I did. So I've come a long way.
So Ironman PR 9:10? Yeah?
I think so.
Yeah. 4:12 for a 70.3 PR. Well, when I look at 2021, you had a nice solid season, 8th at 70.3 Florida, Ironman Coeur d'Alene 5th, where it was, 1 million degrees?
Yeah,
it was
100 something.
Yeah. 4th at Ironman Chattanooga. Do you see yourself more 70.3 person, Ironman person? What's best for you?
I think just because of my slower swim, I do better in the longer distance, just because I have more time to catch up.
Right.
Yeah.
And talk a little about 2021 when, Ironman Florida, 7th at Florida, and that seemed like a pretty solid race, right across the board. Or were you not happy with that? Yeah,
it was pretty solid. It was very good competition. And it was just,
deep field.
Yeah, a few weeks after Chattanooga, too. So I didn't know how my legs would feel after that. But it was definitely a solid year. I tore my ACL, and so I was off. I didn't think I would actually be able to come back. My sister was actually winning a race. It was one of the last races before COVID, at the end of 2019.
Yes.
And I was on a cruiser bike, and I was trying to get to the finish because she was about to break the tape, but I was all the way too far at the end of the course. And there's railroad tracks, and I just didn't see them. And then tore my ACL, MCL.
Oh, my God.
Got a really severe concussion, everything. So I was out for just recovering forever. Like, I couldn't run for 6 months, and I actually couldn't. The first time I was on the bike, it took me 10 minutes to just make it around.
Oh, my God.
So it was kind of going back from square one, pretty much.
Oh,
yeah.
The fact that you got back to where you're at is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be possible, but it was just kind of staying in the moment every single day and kind of focusing on where I am on a day-to-day basis. And I don't know. I think it was a lot of, I had to change my perspective instead of being frustrated with the injury and saying like, okay, this injury did not happen to me. It happened for me. And then that mindset shifted and I became a better swimmer in that process. I could not swim without I had to swim with a buoy for 6 full months.
Yeah.
But it was something that, okay, so my swim is my major weakness, but that's one thing that I can do. So I can focus on that. So it just really changed my perspective and
Had happened for me. That's a pretty interesting attitude. So you coach as well?
I do coach, yes.
And what have you taken from your racing that transfers over to your athletes?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things I've learned is just you can be so physically fit and ready for a race, but if your mindset isn't ready and you're not prepared from a mental standpoint, then it's not going to be the day that you envision. Right. So I think one of the biggest things I've taken away from just sport in general that I've learned over the years is how important that mindset is. And so I like to make sure my athletes are mentally strong. So that's a big focus for us.
And the transferring from being an age grouper yourself to a pro,
right?
How hard was that? It
was really hard. Yeah. I mean, I went pro pretty early, probably too early because I didn't know how to swim. I think, it's kind of funny. Haley and I were at Kona together. I think we were second and third that last year as an amateur, and she was 25 minutes in front of me on my swim. So that's like showing the progress that I made. And we finished 30 seconds behind. I finished 30 seconds behind her with that 25-minute gap. So I don't think, I mean, looking back for other amateurs, I think it's better to just be patient with going pro and like learn your weakness a little bit, try to get stronger with that. But to be honest, I was kind of bored. Like I just needed the challenge. So when I was competing as an amateur, I was like, I just want to compete against the best in the world and push myself against them and see that. And I think that ultimately made me better, but I feel like looking back, I should have probably waited until I got that swim down.
When I think about tennis, it seems like such a psychological sport, right? These guys walk by each other, they don't talk to each other, right? And then triathlon is so different because it's you against you, it's you against the course.
Exactly.
Was that part of the appeal for you, that this is not quite the high intensity mental game that we played in tennis?
It's so different. But I think what you do learn from tennis is how you have to stay in the moment. Yeah. And with triathlon, if you're, 10 minutes down the road, then that could be a disaster, because you could be on your bike at 100 miles and be like, oh my gosh, I still have 12 miles left. I have to run a marathon, and just disaster. But with tennis, what I learned is to just be in that point that I'm in, and then that does carry over into triathlon too. So there is some correlation between the two that I think has really made a difference. But again, like with tennis, I feel like I was ready for some kind of change and like different challenge. I had been on the tennis court for hours and hours for decades, and I was ready for something new. And I didn't think I would be here, but
right. And it's interesting because you injured yourself like on a cruiser bike trying to get to the finish line.
Oh, I know.
And think how many times you're playing on a hard court.
Yeah,
right, where you could have ended up with all these different ACL, MCL, all those type of injuries, but you ended up healthy from that.
Right, and on a cruiser bike. And I've actually had a very healthy career. The only injuries I've had, which is kind of crazy, I don't know how I stay injury-free, but has been on the cruiser bike. And then I was actually hit by a car last Saturday. And
Last Saturday?
Last Saturday. I have no idea. Honestly, it's a miracle. Like, I was just going straight, and this car didn't see me. He saw my twin. Yeah. And then she just, like, picked up the pace, I think, just to not hit Megan, and then she hit me, and she didn't see me until I was on the hood of her car.
Oh my God.
Megan was in an accident 10 days before that, so she sees me like flip over in the air, land on the pavement, but I was totally fine. Like, I'm just bruised up. It's honestly, I don't know how I could have been fine from being hit by a car, and then I'm on a cruiser bike and I'm out for like a year and a half. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
That is wild. What do you look at as your best race so far? I mean, you've had a very young career as a pro triathlete.
I don't know what my best race is. I mean, I would say not the best race, but one race that I feel like it obviously was not my best race or PR by any means was Coeur d'Alene last year, because I did qualify here, but most importantly, it was like the first Ironman I had done after the ACL recovery when, you know, looking back just 6 months prior, it was like, this is impossible to, I mean, it literally for probably a good solid 6 weeks, I was going 20 watts on the bike. So that's where I was.
Wow.
From a recovery standpoint. So it's like my first FTP test, I did 140 watts. I was like so happy, you know, and so just to see kind of where I knew like where I have, you know, how far I have been, you know, in that recovery process, like how hard it's been to kind of get back to where I was. So just to be able to race again was so rewarding. So yeah, I would say it was far from a PR, you know, in 100 degrees, but just like from what I took from that race, like, okay, I came back and I did it. And that hard work was worth every moment.
When you were laying on the pavement after you got hit by a car, what was going through your head? I bet you're like, all the hard work I've done for St. George is out the freaking window.
Oh, I had no idea that I would be here and be fine. So the first thing I did was I just like checked my arms and like, okay, my arms are okay. I don't feel like I have a broken collarbone. And then I checked my legs and I was like, my legs are moving. Like, I think I can get up. And then I got up and I was like, I can walk. I was like, this is insane.
Your sister must have been freaked.
Oh yeah, she was freaked out.
She probably thought you were just in shock or something.
Yeah, exactly. She did. And the thing is, the irony was she was in the accident 10 days before, and that was the first time she was back on the bike, and then she sees me flip like that. Oh. So it was more painful for her, you know, because mentally that's a lot to witness that.
And I bet that night when you're sleeping, you're going, oh, tomorrow it's going to be awful.
Yeah. And I refused to go to the ER because I was like, I don't want them to say that you can't race because you have a concussion and all these things. So yeah, but
and the next day you must have been sore.
Yeah. I'm bruised up.
You're bruised up.
Yeah, but bruises are bruises.
But you're racing.
I'm fine, yeah.
Yeah, you'll be good.
I'll be okay.
That is cool. Do you guys, when you and your sister are both doing the same races, do you go over them afterwards and go through your times and things like that?
No, we don't go through our times as much, I would say. Yeah, I don't know. We just like dissect the day. I would say we dissect the day and everything and how, I love racing with her and seeing her on course and everything. It's just so great. But this race, she starts so far behind me. So that's kind of, you know, sad for her. Like, she'll have more wind.
What will be the rest of your season?
I'm not sure. I think I want to do Ironman Chattanooga, which is sorry, the 70.3. They don't, which is in 2 weeks if I recover. So we'll see how recovery goes, and then I'll figure out the rest of the season. But probably maybe Lake Placid, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So nice to meet you,
It's
Kelly.
so great to meet you too.
Thanks so much for taking time.
Thank you.
Poncho Man.
Oh, it's Aloha Monday. Big races this Saturday. Woo! And it's breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. That is a wrap, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Bye.